Hello, this is Mr. Giacaris bringing the English 3 students their first video lecture of the year. This one's on the design of informative writing, and we're going to be talking a lot about designs and how things work in this class. By the end of this video, I want you to know the purpose of informative writing. I want you to be able to relate that purpose to several different examples and types. I want you to know some of the common structures we look for when we're getting into informative writing, and I want you to know what that type of writing is good for. And we'll look at a couple of quick examples. Informative writing, it has a purpose to it, like any type of writing. Our main purpose here is to give information to the reader. It really gets as simple as that. It might have opinions embedded in there, but usually it's trying to explain what opinions are out there as opposed to trying to sell you on an opinion. So usually we're concerned with relating facts. Those could be facts about an experience, like what happened to you at summer camp. These could be facts about an academic topic, like what are the traits of a cell. They could be facts about an event. What were the key speeches at the president's inauguration? But they're going to really give you more factual information. So in short, this stuff is all about educating, telling people about something. The examples are ones you guys have seen. You're pretty familiar with these. We have to-do lists. Think about the purpose there is to explain what needs done. Narratives, to explain experience, to inform someone about how it felt for you, what you went through. How-to lists are very clear. They're about a procedure. How do you get something done? Inform someone about how that happens, the facts of how to get something done. Encyclopedia and Wikipedia entries are very factual. There's not usually a lot of opinion other than to explain the opinions people have. So again, relating facts. Newspaper articles, not editorials and columns, we're talking front page of a section here, are usually about information. What happened over the course of the past 24 hours. The who, the what, the where, the when. They're usually trying to get that type of information across. Some magazine articles do the same thing, and some documentary films, especially the ones you would tend to see on like Channel 11, tend to give information without necessarily trying to promote an opinion. Now that's up for debate a little bit, and we'll get into that later. Whenever you see these things, though, they tend to have a couple things in common. You will tend to see some kind of clarification of the main topic early on, and that should make sense, because if I start talking to you about how to do laundry without telling you that that's what I'm talking about, and all of a sudden I'm talking about sorting things into stacks, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy. You need to know what that topic is right away. In non-narrative forms, a lot of times it even has a bit of an outline, some sort of preview of what's about to come, what that discussion is going to be like. Imagine a Wikipedia page where it has those links to the different parts of the article. Titles, especially in non-narrative forms, tend to be pretty direct. One difference is in some narrative forms they can be pretty creative. Like one narrative many of you have seen is Night by Elie Wiesel about his experience in the Holocaust. Definitely informative. He's trying to inform you about what he went through, what the prison camps were like. Now, the title Night, though, is more of a metaphor. It's not necessarily as direct, but it's still mainly an informative piece. A purpose to learn about the topic is there, and that might come early on, right at the beginning. It might not be really made clear to you until the end, but usually the author, the writer, is going to give you some reason that you should be informed. Again, that might start sounding a little bit persuasive, but you're thinking about the overall purpose of the text. Usually will balance much more towards informative, even if there are a couple of these points that start to feel maybe opinion-based. This is really the big one, though, right here. The language can be personal, it can convey people's thoughts, but it avoids this persuasive and biased feel or charge to it. And I think this is best if I show you an example. Think about this one. Everyone should own a pet like a cat or dog, compared to many people I know feel that owning a cat or a dog is truly rewarding. All right, so what's the difference between the two? When I say everyone should, I'm making a general statement, and I'm kind of evaluating, and I'm saying what everyone should do. I'm trying to sell an opinion, and these words are very charged. You feel like I'm trying to tell you something or lecture you. Many people I know feel that owning a cat or a dog is truly rewarding. Well, that's an opinion too, but notice how it's much more factual, because all I'm doing right now is I'm reporting what people I know have said. I'm not casting a judgment on it. I'm just telling you what they said, and therein the difference. This is a judgment, this is not. Let's go back to our notes here. A couple last things. So how does it work together? There's a directness in informative writing that allows people to know what they're reading about so they can get the most information possible out of it. It's not so much about connecting all the time. It can be, and especially in narrative forms, but it's always about clarity and getting that information across. And they use the title and the language. Now, what is it good for? We're going to use it for getting information. That's our main purpose, is getting information, getting background. We look at informative pieces of writing, things that are primarily informative for those reasons. We often look at it to understand others' experiences. That's why we read Elie Wiesel's Night, because we want to understand and we want to hear someone's account of the facts of what they experienced, the facts of their emotions. We use it to locate models, examples of the things we're trying to learn about. We might write this way to convey our own experience, to relate detail to someone that we think they should know, and to show someone, like for instance, your teacher, about what you know about a topic. They're not good for some things, though. Informative writing is really not good for picking out arguments. For that, you really want to find opinion pieces. They're going to go into a lot more depth. The best you're going to get in an informative piece is an explanation that a statement that this opinion is out there. It's not your ideal situation for finding actual opinions. Should be learning about something you already know about. That's not the best situation here, because if you know a lot about it, you want to be getting deeper, which usually, again, means looking at what other people have to say about it, getting into opinions. You're not really going to understand multiple perspectives. They might get referenced, but again, you're not going to get that depth. Same thing, you wouldn't use this to demonstrate an opinion, you wouldn't write this way. You wouldn't write this way to give your judgment about, do you like something or do you not? Do you think this is valuable or not? And you wouldn't write this way to show connections. Like, this is not necessarily a good compare-contrast methodology. This isn't the form you would really be using to show what Elie Wiesel's Night and Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird have in common, for example. That would be much more in what we'll talk about later, which is an argument. I want to look at the structures slide one last time, because we're going to look at two examples right now. The main topic is clarified very early. We often get some kind of outline of information early on. The titles tend to be direct, and a purpose to learn about the topic is present, and usually the language is really the key, like I said. Okay, I'm going to show you two articles. First one, this is from CNN on today's news. I want you to pause your recording and take a moment to read it. I'm assuming you've done that, and I want to go through this now. U.S. Army Sergeant receives Medal of Honor at White House ceremony. This is an informative piece, and very early on I can tell because the title is direct. This is telling me about an event, and that's pretty easy for me to grasp. We look at here, we get an initial description of a scene. So again, we're getting facts. And we're not getting any of that language that's charged with a bias. And notice down here, the President took the opportunity to raise the issue of PTSD in the military and urge soldiers not to be ashamed of it. Well, that's an opinion, but it's not being presented as the author's opinion. It is being presented as Obama's opinion. So we're reporting an opinion, not trying to push it. So this is very much an informative piece. By contrast, I just want you to even look at the title right now. Say no to extreme work culture. This is from CNN today as well. Notice the very different sound in the title. This is already trying to convince you from this point what you should believe. All right, take a second and read through this and see if you can find those word choices that are somewhat charged. All right, we go through now. We have a tragic death. That's a very opinionated word. What's a tragedy? That has emotion to it. A 21-year-old intern at Bank of America Merrill Lynch has cast a spotlight on the extreme work culture. Well, that's definitely a matter of opinion. What's extreme to one person might not be extreme to someone else, so there's some definitions at play. The hours that Earhart had been working are not unusual. Well, who's to say what's usual? That's, again, taking information and presenting it as you understand it, and that's not necessarily indisputable. This is getting much more into persuasion. If we jump down here, it comes at a huge cost. Well, that's a judgment if I've ever heard one. Someone really qualifying something as really important, somewhat important or not important is a telltale sign. You're no longer in an informative piece. You're now getting to argument, which we're going to talk about later in the week.